You'll like Mr. Barlow, and he'll like you too. I'm Charles Renton with the Retro Review of Salem's Lot for 1979, directed by the late great Tobe Hooper, who brought horror fans such cult classics as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Poltergeist, as well as many others. And this is based on a novel by Stephen King, who brought his novel to life with this TV miniseries that was adapted by Paul Monash, who produced Carrie, so he's familiar with Stephen King's work, as well as Big Trouble in Little China, and did All Quiet on the Western Front. And he also did some television. And nevertheless, for those who don't know the plot of Salem's Lot, Salem's plot, as it were, basically you have a novelist, Ben Mears, played by David Soul. Not a little bit of heart and soul, not a little bit of love to grow. We got a little bit of David Soul, who is Hutch in Starsky and Hutch. If he was Hutch in anything else like Turner and Hutch, because that's not the title, it wouldn't make any goddamn sense. He's a novelist that used to live in the sleepy New England town of Salem's Lot. He returns to find out that it's overrun by the bloodsuckers, the vampires, the ones with nasty little teeth. What an eccentric performance. So he eventually has to convince the remaining townfolk, we have to team up and we have to stop this evil and solve this mystery before everybody in Salem's Lot is history. Salem's Lot Tales, woohoo! So yeah, this is considered a classic among some horror fans. Christ knows why, because as a TV miniseries format, this is just over 3 hours with about enough interesting material to fill maybe an hour and 40 minutes. I fully recognize that with this TV miniseries presentation that it was going to have some stretched out points, but good goddamn Christ, I understand wanting to honor the novel, and yes, they did it in 1990 with It. That didn't have a great second half, admittedly. The movie versions were better with a bigger budget and all that. And even though Tim Curry was great in that, nevertheless, basically, Salem's Lot just brings us the vampire Barlow. Ah, sweet Barlow, ah, sweet nasty teeth. It's Barlow. Yeah, these vampires have yellow eyes, and there are a few things that reminded me of stuff that The Simpsons took from this. Because, yeah, there's one point, like, floating in front of a window that just reminded me that it was absolutely goddamn hilarious. You know, if you say you're a vampire, you get a free small soda at the movies. It's like, it's not like you have a choice. Ah! Okay, yeah, so because this movie is over 40 years old, there's going to be a lot of spoilers because it's a retro review. So, yes, we do have James Mason, who was in North by Northwest and a bunch of projects, a great actor. We also have Lance Kerwin, who plays Mark. He's the young horror fan that eventually teams up with Ben once the film finally remembers, oh yeah, we need to have stuff happen. And also Bonnie. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. The Bonnie that, was in Die Hard. She played Holly in Die Hard. She plays Susan! She looked good here. She looked really good. Actually, she looked good in the Die Hard movies as well. But she looked really good here. So you have Julie Cobb and various people. I mean, let me just take a look at this. You have the guy from Rosemary's Baby, Alicia Cook Jr., Watson Pritchard from House on Haunted Hill. You have George Dzunda. You have Ed Flanders. Fred Willard. Yeah, Fred Willard, believe it or not. Pretty interesting. Look up who Fred Willard played. Marie Windsor and Barbara Babcock. I promise you, I didn't laugh at that name much. So, it's an isolated New England town. And there's the Marston home, or Marston house, that is bought by a man named Stracker, played by James Mason, who I do have to say does do his best with this role, even if there are so many points. Maybe it's just because I'm watching this with the eyes of somebody that has seen so many horror movies in my near 44 years on this earth. This movie came out a bit before I was born, and I've seen it before, but it's been a while. And I decided, because they are actually doing another Salem's Lot that's going to be released exclusively on Max, that is, in just a couple weeks, I decided to revisit this. And there are some moments that are memorable, but there are just some points where I'm like, okay, could we have cut a bit? I mean, Jesus, there are points, you could skip 50 minutes of this movie and not miss shit. So, I did like how somebody just sped right through the goddamn four-way stop. That was just really hilarious. Reminds me of the four-way stops in Ocean Shores. Washingtonians will love that. We do see the very beginning where Ben and Mark are getting some holy water, and it glows because there's a stock photo there. And oh no, the holy water is glowing. That means we have more vampire suckers, I guess. See, they don't flesh enough stuff out. They take forever to pad this thing. And I read the book once. I could not quote a chapter and verse. But yeah, there's a guy named Larry Crockett, not related to Jim or David or Jim Crockett Sr. So the $4 million budget, by the way, would be about $17.3 million in today's money. I believe the house that they built was somewhere around $100K, which, look, they're, the exteriors, that kind of stuff, building that lavish house, building that set, just to burn it down. It kind of seems like an ideal, location to retire, except for the bloodsuckers. And they kept referencing Portland, which confused me because I'm somewhat close to Oregon, like 4 hours away. And I'm like, oh yeah, Portland, Maine. And they keep talking about Banger, but I barely know her. Yeah, I'm just going to skip over quite a bit of this stuff because we do have a little bit of character setup, but we get some side plots that just, whatever, it is what it is. Ben suspects foul play. Yeah, we just get more, we just get like some setup with Stracker saying to Crockett, hey, you need to have some guys deliver this crate, put it in the basement, and oh yes, get us some padlocks so we can, lock this thing up and everything, and it'll be fine. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Nothing nefarious. You'll see Mr. Barlow soon. You'll like him, and he'll like you too. Ben talks about, can a house be inherently evil all the way down to its stone foundation? Well, maybe, possibly. We don't really find that out because even though this house has had a tragic past, again, 50 minutes of this movie could have been cut. There's a guy named Ned, a character named Ned that had Rick Martel's AWA hairstyle. I don't know why I note that. And him and another guy, they check on this. They check on this crate. This crate feels cold. It's like the movie Chill Factor, except this had slightly, better writing. I really shouldn't say that because the writer apparently died a number of years ago as well. But yeah, when you got writing like this, I mean, Jesus Christ, adapted from a novel or not. If this was dialogue taken from the novel and Stephen King, his dialogue does not translate well to a goddamn movie. So, yeah, basically, Ned really wants to open that goddamn crate, but he resists. He resists doing it. And Mark is rehearsing for a pageant that never apparently happens, but he's a horror movie fan. Ben basically takes Susan out on a date. It's a very quick romance, by the way. I just skipped over that. And he's talking to an old teacher. There was a point where two boys got separated because a sudden tropical storm hit in the forest for no reason. And yeah, so Ned and the guy panic. I think it's Mike. And they panic and they throw the stuff down and everything. It is Mike, that's right. Mike's the guy that factors in a little bit later. There's a lot of bowl haircuts here because it's the 80s. Again, who am I to criticize somebody's hair? They throw the locks down, they just frickin' run out. We are a third of the way through before anything really starts to happen. The dog died, thankfully off screen. Yeah, we just get... I'm sorry, but just... We get the side thing of, like, this character, played by Julie. We get her character, and we get Larry Crockett. We get them, getting it on, and her husband Cully, who let his truck be used to do this delivery of this ancient evil that is going to come. This ancient evil that apparently has somehow survived this whole goddamn time. And we get that side plot a little bit later, which actually was kind of goddamn hilarious. He's like, damn it, Bonnie, bam, zoom, straight to the moon. He might as well have done that, because we see a little bit later that not only did he get rid of Larry Crockett, who got attacked by a goddamn vampire, that explains the booking of Jim Crockett Promotions, in the late 80s, har. And then one of the boys, Danny Glick, Jiminy's uncle, or nephew, if you get that, I absolutely love you guys. There is nobody that remembers Jiminy Glick. Unless you're my age and you remember obscure shit. So, yeah, you have the kid pawing at the goddamn window, reminding me of the whole thing with Bart as the vampire, Milhouse as the vampire, all that stuff. um, and then the constable, because apparently they have constables in Maine, they don't actually have police. They just have I mean, I know constable's the name of a police rank, but work with me here. He tries to do some investigation, even though it's pretty obvious we could just go to the house and look. Oh, wait, the house got bought, but it's not being renovated. But, oh, it's fine. There's an antique shop that's being opened. And Jesus Christ, this is like if The Stand actually, was slower paced. At least in The Stand, stuff eventually happened. So, yeah, this is very dull, is what I noted. The kid, Danny, ends up dying. Then he ends up getting Mike down into his grave to bite him. We have the yellow eyes at the And, yeah, everyone's stupid, is what I noted. The romance between Ben and Susan continues. And there's a knockoff Pizza Hut setting, just from down to the mats and everything. Maybe it's pizza out, there's pizza in, and Kerry Von Erich lost his foot, and Mike couldn't shoulder the responsibility. Anyways, the Von Erich fan absolutely hates my channel. Why are you watching? So, yeah, people get gradually sick, and we're just going to throw those notes away, because I will never watch this movie again. And, yeah, we get just more shit going on. Mark sees old Danny boy as the vamp. Kind of goddamn hilarious as far as I'm concerned. But he's a horror movie fan. He has a cross. And anything you make into a cross will work. You don't even have to bless it. So, yeah, there's a guy named Mr. Burke, I believe is the name of the old man that took Mike into his home because Mike got infected. But, oh, he's just sick. It's fine. Everybody is idiotic in this. So, there was the guy named Ned, the Rick Martel-haired guy, apparently did like Susan, which, look at Bonnie in 1979. Boy, howdy, could you blame him? Kind of looked like Miss Elizabeth, actually, to be perfectly honest. And I mean that with respect. If you're a wrestling fan, then you get it. I don't know if you agree or not. So then from there, we basically just get Ned punching out Ben. Ben ends up in the hospital. We are nearly 2 hours in, and then he gets killed by the vamp, by Barlow. It's like if Nosferatu was like dressed in blue, Nosferatu blue, as it were. So we have 50 minutes left, and okay, then the vamp bursts into the goddamn house, Mark's house, and bonks his parents' heads together like he's Hulk Hogan in a freaking Royal Rumble or whatever, just bonking heads together in a battle royal. Bonk, bonk, brother. And yeah, basically Stracker is his, kind of like his Renfield. And this pastor, basically, the cross doesn't work against him, apparently. The cross does not work against the master, Barlow, for some reason. But you can drive a stake into his heart. So the cross doesn't, a holy thing, but a stake does. Keep your shit straight, Stephen King. And then, I think Danny's mom, somebody's mom is in the goddamn. I was starting to tune out at this one because it's really bad. It's getting really, really annoying. I did like the earthquake, though, that hit just before Barlow busted in. But, yeah, there's this point where there's this woman that comes back to life, and Ben's yelling for Bill, who's the mortician or whatever. This movie was dead on arrival, in my personal opinion. And he makes a cross out of like the tongue compressor things. Like the get grossed out just think about that. Ugh. I hate popsicle because of it. I don't like feeling that sort of wood on my tongue. I will just leave it at that. But he makes that out of that and burns her with the cross. Apparently you can just burn a vampire with anything. See, this movie's so inconsistent with what the cross doesn't affect Barlow, but then you can make any cross and kill a newly, minted vampire. Okay. Sure. This is punishingly stretched out. Susan didn't listen. She didn't leave. She goes to the goddamn house, finds Mark, but then gets trapped. Mark gets trapped down in the basement, but somehow manages to escape. And then Stracker ends up trying to get at After Ben tries to talk to the constable who's leaving, because he realizes, well, this shit's fucked. Everybody's infected. Then he gets the gun from the constable. He ends up shooting Stracker, so Stracker dies. Nobody thought of doing this frail old man. Rest in peace, James Mason. And then they manage to get into the cellar, get the little cubby hole in the cellar, get the goddamn barnacle-encrusted air filter-built, casket for, it looked like air filters were encompassing this damn thing. They drag it out. Mind you, $4 million in 1979. It's fine. Maybe half of it went to the hairstyles, because boy, were the hairstyles out of goddamn control. But we then get opening thing, and oh no, it's daytime, and there's a light over Barlow's casket, which I guess doesn't affect him. But then there are vampires starting to come alive, and Mark is just not helping at all. He's just either confused or whatever, or his hair shut his brain down. But Ben is hammering the stake into him. This does not look like hammering a stake. And it's like, Mark, a little help here? Oh, shut the cellar door. Oh, and he's dead. Barlow's dead. How did he survive all these years, all these centuries, when a dickwad with stupid hair was able to kill him? Rest in peace, David Soul, but what the fuck? Anyway, so usually when you kill a vampire, I believe everybody that they turned actually goes back to normal. I think if you kill the master vampire, or am I thinking of zombies? I mean, what am I actually thinking of? I mean, I believe that's the case with vampires. But nope. Nobody changed back. They burned the house down. He finds Susan. Susan's possessed, has the yellow eyes, and then he stakes her. Again, does not look like staking. Kills her, and then basically we go back to the beginning with the holy water. For whatever reason, we just got to, Jesus Christ. We got back, actually, we did the holy water thing in the or a little bit earlier, a couple minutes before that. So they killed Susan, and now they're on the run, because I guess these vampires that didn't change back are after them. Salem lots of padding is what it was. It wasn't good. I'm sorry. I do not understand how people think that this was... Yeah, maybe it was intended to be a comedy, but it wasn't very funny. Yeah, doesn't really get a recommendation. I doubt the new one will be that good, but at least it'll be about an hour or something shorter. Maybe I'll watch a Returns of Salem's Lot, because I have nothing better to do with my time. So, agree, disagree with what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritland. I'll see you soon.